Hello, you beautiful people, it's Giddy. And I don't think I've ever made a Dead by Daylight commentary in my entire life. But since this is the game that I pretty much play all the time now, since Battlefront died, I figured I would start making videos on it, just talking about random stuff. And the first thing that I want to talk about, out of anything ever, on this game, is skill-based matchmaking, MMR, whatever you want to call it. It's been in the game for a while now, and even way back in the day, whenever your matchmaking was based on what rank you were, 1 through 20, it would match you to similar ranks. And it wasn't always like 1-to-1, right? Like sometimes you'd be purple rank 8, and you would still get matched against people that were rank 1, which is, if you didn't know, the best rank in this game at the time. So the matchmaking was always a little bit iffy. And I guess technically there was always some kind of MMR system, but it wasn't nearly as strict as it is now. I still don't really know all the technical details about it. I'm not really sure anyone does. I'm not even sure the devs do. But your matches are a lot more tightly contested these days. And everybody seems to have a different opinion on it. Nobody can ever kind of come to a consensus. So, I don't know. I thought I would discuss some things and maybe... you know, whatever you guys think in the comments. If you disagree, if you agree, whatever, you can say what you think about it. But see, this game is a little different than most games that I think actually need a skill-based matchmaking. If you're talking about a game that's competitive, that's played for money, that is very linear, it makes sense to have some sort of skill-based matchmaking. I mean, even Call of Duty is very linear, you know, every single fucking map ever since that series existed. It's just 3 lanes, every single Call of Duty map ever. So it's very linear. It's very predictable what the guns can do. You know, predicting what other players are going to do is pretty easy for the most part if you have experience. So I view games like Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, very linear because there's just kind of set things that you always do. And this game is called an asymmetrical horror. So, like, asymmetrical. It is not linear. Like, there's so many different variables that you always have no control over. And that's kind of the deal with skill-based matchmaking is control. Because you can be just so much better than somebody else. Just so much better. And if one thing out of your control goes wrong, everything's fucked. And I think a game like this especially is just... It's very unique. So I think that also introduces another problem. Because, you know, obviously they've never found an answer that everybody is okay with, everybody's on board with. But I don't know. Like I said, I think that games like this, I think skill-based matchmaking makes a lot less sense. Unless you make some kind of playlist that's competitive, that has altered rules. You know, you can only use certain perks, you can only play on certain maps. Like, if it's a very controlled environment that makes the game a little more balanced, which, as I said, gets tricky with an asymmetrical game. But that's the only way that I could ever see skill-based matchmaking making any sense. Because, honestly, you can be the best killer in the world, but if you are against a 4-man stack Survive with Friends, and they know how to play the game, and they know how to communicate, you're probably going to lose 80% of the time, unless you play just like an absolute Weenie Hut Jr. employee. You know, there's ways to counter that stuff, right? Like you can have a very boring play style where you just tunnel everybody. Me personally, I don't have a lot of fun playing like that. I understand that people that want to win all the time, that's how they play. And that's fine. I just don't find it that interesting because I feel like I play killer and I play survival. I just play this game for the interaction, the chases. And so if I'm sitting there tunneling every single survivor, I'm robbing myself of a lot of chasing opportunities that I could otherwise have. But if you're wanting to win the game, that's how you have to play, which sucks. Because like the thing with skill-based matchmaking in all these different games is it punishes people that are good at the game. Because if you're brand new, just going against other brand new people, you're all dog shit. And I've always had the opinion of, what are you possibly learning if you're playing against other people that are terrible? Back when I first started playing Call of Duty, I still think Call of Duty 4 is the greatest multiplayer shooter ever made. Arcade shooter, anyways. But I loved that system, you know? It based you together, it match made you based on your connection. It had nothing to do with skill based or anything like that. There was no MMR. It was all based on connection. And I loved that because that was a very smooth gameplay experience. And when you're brand new, you get your ass fucking kicked. And you know what? It sucks for a little while. But the thing with that is, the more you play with people that are just better than you, the more you learn. So I eventually, even though I was getting my ass kicked at the beginning, I started learning all the tricks. I started learning what weapons people were using, what tactics they were using, how to traverse maps in a certain way. Like, I got good at the game by playing against other people that were just better than me. And I don't know, I kind of like that because I feel like once you get to that point where you're basically the master, it feels very satisfying. It feels like you are rewarded for all the time you've put in. If I load into a pub on Dead by Daylight, there's no fucking money on the line. There's nothing. It's a sweat fest no matter what. And it sucks because that's not fun. You would think with a game like this, how it's considered a horror game, you would think that the more stressful side to play would be Survivor, just by the whole nature of horror. But anybody that's played Dead by Daylight at a high level knows that Killer is infinitely more stressful. Why do you think more streamers stream themselves playing Survivor? They can sit back holding M1 and read their chat. They are just chilling. And I don't know, that kind of sucks. And us Killer players, we got to sweat our dicks off. We got to pay attention to everything. We have to micromanage everything going on the map at the same time. We have to see where all the generators are. We have to make sure that they're not too spread out so that we can actually get to all of them. We got to know where survivors are. Like, you have to know how to spread pressure. And as a survivor, you see where the gens are. You get on a gen. You move your camera around. Okay, there's a pallet. There's a pallet. There's a pallet. And then you have a plan. You have a plan of action. And if you're decent at the game at all, you can very easily put that plan into place. As Killer, I mean, your plans are constantly changing based on what's happening with the survivors. So, I don't know. It's very lopsided, and like I said earlier in the video, it's difficult to manage. I'm not sure that anyone really knows the answer, but I do know that this MMR system makes the game very boring. Because if I want to compete, if I want to stand a chance, if I don't want the game to be over in 4 minutes, I have to run slowdown. I have to run meta perks. So that forces me to play a certain way. I can't experiment with different builds. I can't, try fucking meme perks or anything like that, because at my MMR, I will get fucking thrashed. So I don't know. I don't really know the right answer, but I do think that the MMR system they used to have, if you want to call it that, based on ranks, I kind of liked that better. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, especially you Dead by Daylight veterans, and I don't know, maybe give some of your ideas. But anyways, appreciate you guys listening.